Alright, so today I want to talk about trusting yourself. So, the reason I bring this up is because in the past I have gotten some advice from experts, and I've gradually figured out over the years that I can actually trust myself. And what I wanted to say is, anytime you have an expert and he or she says something and you're kind of like, what? And you think that they're talking bullshit, you're probably right. Some think people are teaching stuff that have completely different values to you. They may not have the integrity you have, and or they might be teaching people that are essentially newbies things that would actually do you more harm than good if you were to follow their advice, even if it might be a step up for someone who's really at a level far below what you are. It took me a while to do this, and sometimes the people you look up to and follow, you'll find that you outgrow them. So if you do get into these situations where you're like, I don't know if I believe what that guy says anymore, really, you can go with that and trust yourself. It's really cool the first time you do that and you go, for me, I know better than that guy does on how to do this for my life, or whatever it is. So it's nice to trust yourself, and as you get better at that, you'll just be able to judge who and who you won't listen to far better. But I don't know if you can teach it if you just don't have that kind of competency or trust, and you really don't know what you don't know. But know that it will eventually get to that point where you can learn from people, but you don't need to even though you follow them, trust. Yeah, when those things come up that you think something's out of whack, don't stick to them blindly, no matter how much you've idolized them, even immediately before that. It's cool to break that image of them down to get to the truth. And also, I find it, when you outgrow someone, what will happen is the way you sort of break out of that mode where you look up to them to where you don't, is that you'll just criticize all this stuff that you'd overlooked before. So don't think that I wouldn't say this to them, or probably to anyone, unless maybe a close friend, just to help you get that sort of sanity check when you're finding these things out about someone that you all of a sudden realize you don't agree with. You can certainly tell a friend to get that sanity check, but the way it happens is usually when you're looking up to someone or someone's a role model, you won't see all these things that you don't agree with, and that's just fine. That's how it works, and that's how you learn from them. But when you do get that point when you're starting to break away, just feel free to go into that and go, they do this and that's bullshit, and they contradict themselves here. What the fuck is that? You know, they told me this thing and I thought I should do it at the time, and now I realize that's fucking crap. I'm not doing that. That's not how I want to live, and that's not going to work for me because I don't operate that way. Feel free to go through that process where you break it apart, and then you'll go back and you're like, I don't really hate them that much. Why did I say all that stuff about them? It's really, you're bringing them from a position where you're looking up to them, and when you break that down, you'll bring them to somewhere that's more level. And that doesn't mean you hate them, but that process sort of brings it back to your level, and that might be weird for them as well if you've gone from like thinking, wow, you're freaking amazing, to just someone that's more like a friend or a colleague that's on the same level, and particularly if you start to call their bullshit when they're not used to that. So it's a transition, so allow that to happen. But yeah, it's okay to trust yourself. So if you see that happening, know that you're not crazy, and that this stuff happens. Also, it is good to be aware of who your role models are when you take them on board. Some people get in this position where they know they're the role model, and they will, unfortunately, basically manipulate the person because they are in that position when they look up to them. It's very hard to see if you're looking up to someone when they're actually trying to teach you something, because that's what you expect, and then sometimes they might be just manipulating you or using you to get something, and you think it's some kind of a lesson. It's pretty uncool to abuse that position. Some people do it, so you can sort of distinguish that and detach yourself from those people. It's hard to do when you get into that like mentoree role, because that can sort of just happen, and then you're sort of linked. And if they turn out to be abusing the situation, you do want to get yourself out of that. There's more people out there. Yeah, unless they're just doing it I'd pretty much, you have to make your own call, but if they're manipulating or using you, you pretty much don't want to be involved in that. You can learn what you need to learn. The next teacher will always roll along. That's probably enough about that. Yeah. Okay, see ya.